New information tonight surrounding a fatal car crash in Mesa that happened this morning. Police now say 3 people are dead, including an 8-year-old girl, and speeding is considered a factor.
This happened off of Val Vista in Southern this morning. Lauren Clark joins us live with what happened. Lauren.
Well, John and Christina, an absolutely heartbreaking story to unfold here right on Val Vista. The road is currently open, but certainly the grief that these families will feel will continue for years on end. Mesa Police has identified 2 of the victims, including 42-year-old Troy Garlock, along with an 8-year-old girl who was inside his car at the time of the crash. Officers say this all started when a 29-year-old driver stole a truck.
Within 2 seconds, I heard the and then within about 3 more seconds, it was over. It was over for everybody.
Meshach Fletcher was walking to the convenience store near his Mesa home when he heard it.
And then I just heard an engine revving up, like it's like the NASCARs, you know, like. And then so I turned around and I saw a white truck that was just kind of like really speeding, at least doing 80 or 90.
A truck barreling on Val Vista, causing a fatal head-on collision. Mesa Police identified the truck as a stolen Ford F-250 taken from Gilbert shortly before the crash. Officers haven't released the name of the 29-year-old man driving the truck, but say he directly hit a Nissan Armada going in the opposite direction. Inside that car was Troy Garlock and 2 girls, ages 6 and 8. The force of the crash crunched vehicles, scattering debris across Val Vista Road. The collision so severe that firefighters had to extricate people from their cars. While 2 adults, the 29-year-old truck driver and Garlock, died at the scene, first responders drove the 2 girls to the hospital. That's where the 8-year-old girl later died. The 6-year-old is still being treated at the hospital. As for Fletcher, he says to always tell loved ones you love them, because you never know what day will be your last.
Never gonna forget about this. It's gonna be on my mind for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying?
And police say there was actually a 3rd car involved in this crash too. However, that driver had minor injuries and was not taken to the hospital. Reporting live here in Mesa, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
Tonight on Fox 10 Investigates, a secretive Christian church with global reach, now the target of an FBI investigation. The religious group is known by multiple names, most commonly the 2x2s.
An outcry of child sex abuse allegations aimed at this church now coming to light. Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum spoke with former members about what's been described as a cult and its ties to Arizona.
Tempe police, Judge Warren, come to the door with nothing in your hands.
It's the morning of September 6, 2022. Tempe police are here for Raymond Zwiefelhofer.
Hands up. Hands up. Put your hands up, please. On your head. All right, go ahead and step out. Step out. Keep your hands on your head, sir.
The fall of Zwiefelhofer begins with his arrest, his rise in 2009, when he became CEO of World Software Corporation, known as Worldox, a software tech company specializing in managing legal documents.
I think it was just interesting from the beginning that he was so high up in this company.
Catherine Fu is a prosecutor within the Sex Crimes Bureau for the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, working the case against Zwiefelhofer. He was charged with 10 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor after a tip from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children alerted police to CSAM, child sex abuse material uploaded by a suspect with IP addresses at Worldox and Zwiefelhofer's home. A search warrant served 3 months before his arrest led to the seizure of multiple electronic devices, including a micro SD card which contained CSAM.
In total, all 87 files depicted children under the age of 15 engaged in either exploitive exhibition or sexual conduct.
By November 8, 2024, Zwiefelhofer was sentenced to 120 years in prison after a jury found him guilty of all 10 charges.
Other than say I'm not guilty again, I like to make that clear. I would love to know how the jury found that I knowingly did this.
Fox 10 has spoken to multiple sources with ties to a secretive Christian sect accused of widespread child sex abuse and cover-ups, known as the 2x2 Church, the Way, the Truth, and the Church with No Name. Sources within the church confirm that Raymond Zwiefelhofer was a member, specifically an elder. We want to be clear, his crimes did not involve members of the 2x2.
My name is Sarah Black. I was born and raised in the 2x2s, in the meetings. I'm 48 now. I left in my late teens, early 20s.
Sarah Black lives in the East Valley, but grew up in Portland, Oregon, going to weekly gospel meetings.
Well, it's a system that is very legalistic, lots of unwritten man-made rules. I grew up without a TV. Most homes didn't even have a radio. I was with progressive parents, so I had a radio. I was also in a very musical home, but I watched my friends not be able to do certain things like participate in band activities at school.
Black's parents have also left the church. She describes the Christian sect as well hidden with an established hierarchy, overseers at the top, followed by ministers called workers, and then elders along with the rest of the church, known as friends.
All this importance on what these workers speak in these meetings. So the doctrine becomes whatever you hear every week. There is no one set doctrine like some churches would have.
Because ministers go out 2x2, they go out in pairs, and they don't have homes. They stay in the members' homes. So the access to children is readily available because they're staying in the homes, sometimes even in the same bedrooms as the children.
Cynthia Lyles is a private investigator specializing in child sex abuse cases. She's worked with the FBI on exposing the 2x2 church that originated in Ireland in the late 19th century. Workers rely on members' hospitality for housing and food, traveling with assigned partners of the same sex, denying formal religious training. They aren't allowed to marry either.
You'd have to clean the house and have it the most clean you could get it. And my brother and I would be kicked out of our rooms, and we would sleep on the floor in a sleeping bag at my parents' room so that the workers could come and stay 2 or 3 nights.
Elders host weekly meetings in their homes for workers to teach the gospel.
For us, it was normal for them to come stay with us for a few days at a time when they were in our what they called field.
Pam Walton lives in Hawaii, another member who was raised in the church and now collects documents and photos tracking a timeline of alleged predators.
Everyone in the church is either related to someone in it or they know someone in it.
Did you find patterns of a cult early on?
It's definitely fear-based.
Advocates for the Truth is a nonprofit organization that provides help for sexual abuse survivors in the 2x2 church. AFTT says 2,000 plus victims have reported more than 900 alleged perpetrators to its hotline for abuse as of June 2024.
The main philosophy of the church is that it's the only true way to heaven, and so that really complicates child sex abuse cases and sex assault cases because survivors are fearful that they will lose out on salvation if they report.
Lyle shared an important letter with Fox 10, written in 2005 by a former overseer in Arizona who addressed a fellow member's history of alleged child molestation. It says, quote, "You can understand that we love our people very much and don't want to report their misdeeds to the authorities. So the way we have usually complied with the law is by asking the offender to see a professional counselor." End quote.
This has been a church that has just been perfect grounds for pedophiles to be at, be in, be with, because they have had unprecedented access to children.
The church has an estimated 175,000 members across the world. Its connections to Arizona date back to Glendale in the 1920s.
Sometimes you would get a paper list. If you were an elder in a meeting, you might be emailed a list, but oftentimes you were told to just hand out the information or tell the information verbally.
He does not want to be identified due to family members who are still affiliated with the church, and says those who have left are relieved the FBI is investigating.
People on the outside are pretty excited that something will finally happen. People inside are still in denial.
I don't know how many times Jesus passed through.
I wanted to see what a gospel meeting was like for myself. A worker told me the gatherings were public and I was welcome to attend one held at Thunderbird High School in Phoenix. We watched around 100 to 200 people walk in, many families carrying their Bibles and books of hymns. For an hour they sang and prayed together, all seated in a cafeteria. So I spoke to a worker that has been in this church for 30 years or so. He says, like many other members, he was shocked at the FBI's investigation. He says he was even hurt by these serious allegations that came out, and the church really had to look within itself and figure out how they prevent any abuse from happening within this very, very large religious group. I reached out to the Glendale Union High School District to see if officials were aware of the religious meetings held at Thunderbird High. A spokesperson says the school has not leased facilities to any organization operating under the names 2x2 or The Truth. We obtained the lease agreement to a Nate Galuza to rent the cafeteria for worship services during the month of January, costing $600 for a total of 8 hours. The district says users must comply with federal, state, and local laws, going on to say, quote, "Our district remains deeply committed to the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and community. It is also important to emphasize that students were not present on campus during the time of this facility rental." As for Zwiefelhofer, his defense says that he was unaware of the child sex abuse content found on his device depicting minors under the age of 15 involved in sexual conduct. Prosecutor Fu also says the entire Windows system on his laptop was deleted before Tempe police executed that search warrant at his home. We've reached out to his attorney for comment and have not heard back. Do you think he was someone that thought he could get away with all of this?
I think the evidence showing that the entire system Windows system had previously been deleted, evidence showing that there was an encryption key, I think I would say that all of that evidence together is indicative of someone who was trying to cover their tracks.
I'm Justin Lum for Fox 10 Investigates.
If you have any information or believe your child or children have been victimized by anybody affiliated with that church, head to fox10phoenix.com. We've got links for you to the FBI's questionnaire. We're hearing from the loved ones mourning the loss of a family. A Valley dad and his 8-year-old daughter. They were killed in a violent crash Monday morning near Val Vista and Southern in Mesa.
Police say that a man speeding in a stolen truck hit that family's car head on. Fox 10's Lindsay Regis is joining us live tonight with more. Lindsay.
John and Ellen, just a very tragic story. Friends and family tell us Elsie was the 8-year-old girl killed in the crash. At such a young age, Elsie found her passion. She loved dance, but her dance community loved her even more. Elsie was a star on stage.
She would light up any room, any stage you went into, and she just had this spark in her eye.
Can Dance Studios is in shock after hearing 8-year-old Elsie and her father, 42-year-old Troy Garlock, were involved in a deadly crash not far from the studio where Elsie learned to dance.
She was just a wild spirit. Just so full of life and one of our best performers, hands down.
Elsie took pride in dance. She spent hours at the studio to perfect her craft.
She just had this attitude of, I can do anything, you can do it, and you give it to her, and she did. And she calmed down, and she started honing in her performances, and everything she just skyrocketed so quick.
Her talent and determination paid off when she placed at Nationals last year.
Elsie really had drive, and Mabel was just wanting to follow in her sister's footsteps.
Elsie's sister, 6-year-old Mabel, survived Monday's deadly crash near Val Vista Drive and Southern Avenue.
Just watching it all unfold, it was heartbreaking. The plant's laying down. Yeah.
Now a small memorial grows in their memory, started by strangers but made with love.
I saw the severity of the Nissan Armada that Troy and Elsie were in. That what got me was the stuffed animal dog that was laying in the road. And I wanted to grab it and hold on to it and see if I could get it to the family, but you couldn't cross over the caution tape. So I picked out a dog that reminded me it's not the same, but. And then my son actually went through his own stuffed animals and grabbed one for them too.
The Garlock family posted an update on their GoFundMe page. Elsie's sister Mabel is out of surgery and recovering with many broken bones. Over $80,000 has been raised so far. You can find that link on our website, fox10phoenix.com. In studio, Lindsay Regis, Fox 10 News.
A teenager is dead and another is in the hospital tonight after crashing an off-road vehicle. It happened last night near 47th Avenue in Cholla.
Police say both were riding in a side-by-side when it crashed through a fence and then plunged into a dry canal. Fox 10's Brian Webb has the latest.
This is the scene today. Caution tape up everywhere and debris still down at the bottom of the canal. Both high school students were rushed to the hospital where one of them died. The jogging path is now blocked by yellow caution tape, the scene of a joyride gone wrong. Two teens in a side-by-side crash through a fence and fall 30 feet into a dry canal.
Going up closer, I saw ATV upside down and people being very frantic.
Jeff has lived on the corner for more than 2 decades. He says off-road vehicles aren't allowed here, but that doesn't seem to stop anyone.
Posted, you're not supposed to ride there. I mean, it's state property. You're supposed to stay on the path. No motorized vehicles.
Both riders went to Centennial High School in Peoria. The boy who died is identified by fellow students as Nolan Coughlin, seen here on his Facebook page, a 16-year-old player for the Coyotes football team. Students tell me it's been a bad day at school.
The mood at the school has just been like really somber and just everyone's heads have been down. I feel like everyone seemed like sad and just like off.
The teachers are sending out emails and we're talking to each and everybody about it.
Back at the crash site, a few friends and fellow students stopped by to see where it happened. Jeff just hopes this crash may save the next kid.
I don't understand. I mean, why nobody will take our neighborhood into consideration and try and do something to stop this.
The school released a statement today updating students and parents on the situation and offering counseling to anyone who might need it. No word if either one of the riders was wearing a helmet. In Phoenix, I'm Brian Webb, Fox 10 News.
Egg prices have people scrambling their budgets right now, and restaurants are feeling the pinch as well. Today, we're learning that Rosita's in Phoenix is adding a new surcharge for all egg dishes, and other restaurants have made similar moves.
Meantime, some Valley families are finding another way, a way to save by skipping the middleman. Fox 10's Lindsay Regis takes us to 2 egg carts that are thriving in Buckeye.
This egg stand is a hot commodity. The owner sets out eggs every morning and within minutes. She's sold out, selling a dozen farm fresh eggs for just $3.
My dream to open something like this and be an asset to the community, which is why I sell my eggs for pennies.
Diana Shawnamonico, owner of Bellevue Acres, started raising chickens a year ago.
I started with 4, and now I have anywhere between 50 and 60.
As her chickens started laying more and more eggs, she set up this self-serve farm stand to help her neighbors find affordable eggs.
When I started it, we were having a bird flu back then, too, and I think eggs were going for about $8 a dozen, and I've always sold them for $3.
The average price for a dozen eggs hit $4.15 in December, and the Agriculture Department predicts prices will rise another 20% this year. Some grocery stores are now even limiting egg purchases.
Completely crazy. I get a text or 2 or 5 almost daily. Someone looking for eggs.
Down the road from Diana's stand, Linda Whitehead owns a similar business. You'll find this cabinet stocked with local jam and honey and, of course, eggs. Marked at $5 a dozen, Linda says she's not changing her prices regardless of what a dozen costs in stores.
Why gouge people? I don't like being gouged. I don't like the prices in the stores right now, so I'm not doing it to my customers.
Neighbors who sell farm fresh eggs use the honor system. They list their prices and rely on electric payment. But if you're not honest, they'll catch you on camera. In Buckeye, Lindsay Regis, Fox 10 News.
A skydiver using a winged suit has died after his parachute failed to open. It happened around noon near Hannah and Tweedy Roads near the Eloy Airport. Officers found 46-year-old Sean Bowen of Gilbert dead at the scene. It's unclear why the chute didn't deploy, but the FAA will handle the investigation. Remember last week, a 55-year-old Minnesota woman died in Eloy after an issue with her parachute during the descent.
What you see behind me is all that's left of a massive gathering that started around noon, along with the protests around the country. And there was hundreds and hundreds of people out. It was very peaceful. They marched around the Capitol, and now here we are. They are all here for various reasons, a lot of different reasons. But I can tell you what unites them. They're angry and they're afraid of Trump's agenda, and they feel powerless. They feel like they're not heard, that they're voiceless, but they do have one tool in their arsenal to fight back, and that's demonstrating in mass.
Resist! Protest! Fight!
I'm scared to death of what's happening to America right now.
No racism! No racism!
Inflation's going up. People are having a harder and harder time.
We have been treated unfairly.
Tariffs, trans rights, immigrant deportations, and DOGE. The reasons for taking off work Wednesday to protest for hours in front of the Arizona state capitol, all centered around dissatisfaction with the direction President Trump is taking the country.
Fed up with Elon Musk getting involved, taking our information. He's freaking nobody. We didn't vote for Elon Musk.
Moscow! Moscow! Moscow!
There was no official organizer to speak of. News the protest was taking place in all 50 states started on social media and spread to millions of people of all ages, ethnicities, and incomes who feel disregarded and disenfranchised.
To rely on our own organizations. The Democratic Party is completely impotent, so we have to coordinate a massive response.
Hundreds gathered, strangers taking turns sharing the megaphone to bring attention to what they say feels like a system rigged against the working class, with the rich getting richer while the price of groceries and rent only inch higher.
First hates into this country is the biggest cowards.
Well, 2025 was supposed to be a great year, and it's ending up to be who can ruin the economy faster than anybody else in other countries.
We are less than a month into Trump's 4-year presidency, and it's not clear how or if he will respond to the mass demonstrations, which started spontaneously popping up in major cities weeks ago and show no signs of stopping.
I've been watching the news and staying at home crying, and I just decided if I didn't get out here and do something, I didn't know what to do, but I just knew I had to show up and do something, because I can't just sit around and watch our America be dismantled.
Now, John and Christina, since we last talked, the protest behind me has gotten smaller, but we're going to keep an eye on it because in recent weeks here and around the country, we've seen that these protests suddenly balloon in size around like 10 p.m. and that's when they tend to get chaotic with people vandalizing police cars and resorting to violence and blocking freeways. We're going to keep an eye on this, but Phoenix PD, they are here right now. Their presence is very light. They say that they have a safety response team that is watching for any criminal activity, and that is when they will intervene. We'll keep you updated.
And we begin here at 6 o'clock with a couple absolutely devastated with the loss of their baby at 42 weeks. And now their attorney is planning to file a lawsuit against a birthing center in Mesa. Fox 10's Lauren Clark spoke with that couple tonight. It's really important to stress that there's no criminal charges in this case. There's also no lawsuit filed yet. However, an attorney who's representing the family says he intends to do so soon because he wants those responsible to be held accountable. But when I reached out to the Willow Midwife Center for Birth and Wellness, they defended the reputation with statistics.
Noelle and Dylan Smerzel say they were excited to welcome baby boy James into the world in November 2023. When looking at options to give birth, Noelle says Willow Birthing Center in Mesa stood out.
I enjoy the idea of a business or a healthcare run by women that's exclusively serving women.
At 42 weeks, Noelle went into labor. The couple says the delivery was not easy.
Because she was in a lot of pain, so we were like, should we just go to the hospital and
get something to help her mitigate the pain. And the midwife was very dismissive of it. She's like, no, this is normal, everything's fine.
But as the hours went on, the Smerzels say they realized everything was not fine. Eventually, Noelle was rushed to the hospital. After a 36-plus hour labor and attempted delivery at Willow, baby James died at Banner Desert.
There's nothing worse than that.
This is a tremendous tragedy, and it's something that's completely preventable.
Preventable, says the couple's attorney John Kelly, because of how far along Noelle was in her pregnancy.
These midwives know very much that at 42 weeks of pregnancy, it's too long. They have to transfer them to the hospital at that point.
It's a stance that Willow refutes. In a statement to Fox 10, a representative noted that the cutoff week to deliver a baby at a birth center is at 42 weeks. Willow also noted that it holds accreditation from the nation's highest standard in birth center safety and regulation and is run by 2 certified nurse midwives with doctorates in their field. At least one other wrongful death lawsuit was brought against Willow. The complaint filed describes another attempted delivery at the facility in June of 2023. Mesa police paperwork listing names matching the complaint describes a call for a child not breathing. The officer wrote that upon arrival at the hospital, a nurse made a comment about how Willow was known to the NICU staff. The officer also wrote that a physician said in 2022 they received about 8 newborn patients and that 2 or 3 died. Willow told Fox 10 it had a transfer rate of 13%, below the national average of 15.8%, and that Willow's NICU admission rate was less than 1%. The previous lawsuit was settled just weeks ago, according to an attorney's website. But now Kelly says he plans to soon file another.
We don't have all the information yet, but what we do have thus far shows us that there was clear negligence. It should have never happened. And the baby should have been transferred much earlier.
As for the Smerzels, they say accountability is important.
They get to keep going on throughout their days, but we live with the consequences when we don't feel like we necessarily should have had to, and it was preventable. So like every day we have to think about everything that has happened.
Fox 10 also viewed documents of statements of deficiency with the Arizona Department of Health Services filed against the midwives that Noelle says helped her. The midwives now have a chance to respond. Willow says it cannot discuss specific instances, citing HIPAA privacy laws. However, it did stress that state records show that it highly ranks consistently among one of the best for staff and facilities, and that it follows all policies and procedures. Reporting here in Phoenix, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
The man accused of killing a woman last year along a North Phoenix hiking trail is now facing new charges. Zion Teasley appeared before a judge this week on charges of sexual exploitation of a minor. This latest grand jury indictment comes nearly 2 years after he was arrested and charged with murdering Lauren Heike along a trail in 2023. According to the police report, detectives later found Teasley's DNA at the crime scene. His murder trial is set to begin in October.
Suspects charged in the murder of Preston Lord appeared in court this morning for the first time in months.
And all 7 of the suspects have pleaded not guilty. They're facing first-degree murder charges in the killing of 16-year-old Preston Lord at a Halloween party in Queen Creek in 2023. And some are also facing robbery charges. In court today, attorneys discussed the large amount of evidence and interviews they're poring over and say the state is still narrowing down which electronic evidence will be used in the upcoming trial. Another hearing is set for May, and this trial is scheduled to begin in July.